Before you, with great effort, he straightens himself up in his chair.
Welcome, Miss. I'd offer you.
He looks extreme.
You go ahead, detective.
Whatever. Forget about that. What's with...
Please, Mr.
It's nothing. Yet.
Excellent, Mr. Dubois. I can see that you're. So tell me.
The chair you're...
Oh, by the way, I heard you. This should take care. It should be sufficient.
Wow. That's 25 real.
Yes, I know.
With a grin, he points to the checker game. It's like you're on a game show. At least, don't thank him for it.
Okay, oh, now.
His slug. The world is swallowed by a black hole of fear. Only 2 words escape its gravitational pull.
I know it's not like you left it.
It was loaded. There were 2 bullets in it.
Officer, we will deal with this later. We don't need Mr. Clare's help with...
I wouldn't be so sure about that.
God, you're sweating. Your knee is jerking. You're about to cry. Before you is a walrus of a man, seated behind a large desk. He looks up from his work, not the least bit surprised to see you. With great effort.
Well, I'd offer you my...
He looks
You go ahead, detective.
Whatever he has his... Forget about that. What's with...
Please, Mr.
It's nothing. Yes.
Excellent, Mr. Dubois. I can see that you're a reasonable man, and reasonable men... So tell me.
The chair you're sitting...
Oh, by the way, I heard you got a rather rude reception from a certain Lawrence Gart. Some people have... This should take care. It should be sufficient to...
Wow, that's 25 real. That's good money. You need it.
Is there...
No.
Cool. Now.
His slug-like. The world is swallowed by a black hole of fear. Only 2 words escape its gravitational pull. Lost and gun.
Are you all right, Harry? It's not like you left it loaded.
It was loaded. There were 2 bullets in it. You always keep at least 2 barrels loaded. God, you're sweating. Before you is a walrus. With great effort, he...
Welcome, Miss... I'd offer you my hand.
He looks extremely
You go ahead, detective.
Whatever. Forget about that.
Please, Miss...
It's nothing. Yes. That's...
Excellent, Mr. Dubois. I can see that... So tell me.
The chair...
Oh, by the way, this should take care of... It should be sufficient to cover...
Wow. That's 20...
Yes, I know.
With a grin, he points to the checker game. It's like you're on a game show. At least...
Okay. Now.
His slug. The world is swallowed by a black hole of fear. Only 2...
Are you all right, Harry? It's not like you left...
It was loaded. There were 2 bullets in it. You always keep at least 2 barrels loaded.
Officer.
I wouldn't be so sure about that.
God, you're sweating. Your knee is jerking. You're about to cry, aren't you? You're about to cry because you lost your gun and those children are gonna shoot themselves with it. Before you is a wall with great effort.
Welcome. I'd offer you my...
He looks extremely comfortable.
You go ahead, detective.
Whatever. Forget about that. What's with this?
Please, Mr.
It's nothing. Yes.
Excellent, Mr. Dubois. So tell...
The chair?
This should take care. It should be sufficient.
Wow. That's 25 real. That's good money. You?
Is there anything you'd like to say to me? Or...
No.
Cool. Now.
His slug-like The world is swallowed by a black hole of fear. Only 2 words.
Are you all right, Harry? It's not like you...
It was loaded. There were 2 bullets in it. You always...
Officer.
I wouldn't be so sure about that.
God, you're sweating. Your knee is jerking. You're about to cry, aren't you? You're about to cry because you lost your gun and those children are gonna shoot themselves with it. Before you, with great effort.
Welcome, Mr. Dubois. I'm Everard. I'd offer you my hand.
He looks extremely...
You go ahead, detective.
Whatever. Forget about that.
Please, Mr. Dubois.
It's nothing.
Excellent, Mr. Dubois. I can see that you're a reasonable man. So tell me.
The chair you're sitting on has got to be the most uncomfortable chair in the world.
This should take... It should be sufficient.
Wow. That's 25 real. That's good money. You...
Okay. Now, I'd like to say...
His slug-like... The world is swallowed by a black hole of fear. Only 2 words...
I know everything, Harry. It's not like you...
It was loaded. There were 2 bullets in it. You always keep at least 2 barrels loaded. God, you're sweating. Your knee is jerking. You're about to cry, aren't you? You're about to cry because you lost your gun and those children are gonna shoot themselves with it. The front of this quarterly journal features a large satirical because Friesel was, to your disappointment, after Rifle, the magazine is divided into comrade, but like only 4 issues. So please, if you value our radical Mazovian
What do you expect? It was laying around the office of the debate.
you flip back to the front of the magazine. This section includes you also face it. You flip back to the front of the magazine. It takes a moment. Why they it evokes as you leaf through. The main feature, though, is a long essay. This so-called artist, the actual article is if you don't follow it, you only ever hear about the you think you're instead where to even start. Oddly enough, there's no way, though. Have you ever met anyone named Exilus under capitalism? Thus, and that at the end, you see, one cannot avoid the conclusion that Tip Top Tourney is simply the apotheosis of spectacular entertainment under capitalism.
I can safely say the thought had never crossed my mind, Detective. I'm sure most things are. If I had to...
You flip back to the front of the magazine. Unsurprising, you skim. Finally, there's a brief article by the writer, G. Martin, accusing the owner of the Cape Side Apartments of illegally attempting to evict certain communist tenants simply for not having paid their rent. According to these editorials, judging from the... You flip back to the front of the magazine. Well, hello. Someone seems to have found himself a bottle of alcohol. Light reflects off the green glow. Wow, the gods of mass production have made this alcohol container laughably. There's a satisfying pop as the cork jumps out. Nothing. Some mental stuff. Nothing to be worried about. Physically, you'll be a golden sun melts down your throat. Its rays filling your nostrils with sunshine. Your stomach melts from it into a happy, gooey mess. So does your mind. All the bad things are melting. You're you again. A real cop. A real detective. Incredibly well done.
In the bottom right corner of the screen, there's an alcohol button. Alcohol gives +1 to physics.
From the void we came. Before you is, with great effort,
Welcome. I'd offer you my hand, but unfortunately
he looks extreme.
You go ahead, Detective.
Whatever, forget about that.
Please, Mr.
It's nothing. Yes,
Excellent, Mr. Dubois. So tell me.
the chair you're sitting on has got to be the most uncomfortable.
Oh, by the way, this should take care. It should be sufficient.
Wow, that's 25 real. That's good money. You need it.
Okay, now,
The world is swallowed by a black hole of fear. Only two words escape its gravitational pull. Lost and
I know it's not like.
it was loaded. There were 2 bullets in it. You always keep at least 2 barrels loaded.
Officer,
I wouldn't be so sure about that.
God, you're sweating. Your knee is jerking. You're about to cry, aren't you? You're about to cry because you lost your gun and those children are gonna shoot themselves with it. Before you is, with great effort, he straightens himself up in his...
Welcome, Mr. Dubois. I'd offer you my hand, but unfortunately, my health.
He looks extremely
you go ahead, Detective.
Whatever he had, forget about that. It's nothing. Yes, that's probably right. It's nothing. Forget
Excellent, Mr. Dubois. I can see that you are reasonable.
the chair you're sitting on has got to be the most...
Oh, by the way, I heard you got a this. It should be
Wow, that's 25 real.
Is that
No,
cool? Now,
his slug-like lips move, but... The world is swallowed by a black hole of fear. Only 2 words escape its gravitational pull. Lost.
are you all right, Harry? It's not like.
It was loaded. There were 2 bullets in it. You always keep at least 2 barrels loaded. God, you're sweating. Well, hello. Light reflects off the... Wow. The gods of mass production have made this alcohol container laughably. Oh yes, the chest pain and the dizziness. You've suffered long enough. Now there's a satisfying pop as the cork. Nothing. Some meant nothing. So the golden sun melts down your throat. Its rays filling your nostrils with sunshine. Your stomach melts from it into a happy, gooey mess. So does your mind.
In the bottom right corner of the screen, there's an alcohol button. Alcohol.
From the void we... Before you is a with great effort.
Welcome. I'd offer you...
He looks...
You go ahead, detective.
Whatever. Forget about that. What's with this?
Please, Mr. Dubois, let us converse.
It's nothing. Yes, that's probably right.
Excellent, Mr. Dubois. I can see that you are... So tell me.
The chair you're sitting...
Oh, by the way, I heard you got a rather... It should be...
Wow, that's 25 real. That's good money. You need it.
Okay, now...
The world is swallowed by a black hole of fear. Only 2 words escape its gravitational pull.
Are you all right? It's not like you left...
It was loaded. There were 2 bullets in it. You always keep at least 2 barrels loaded. God, you're sweating. Your knee is jerking. You're about to cry, aren't you? You're about to cry because you lost your gun and those...
Mr. Dubois.
What is this, Mr. Dubois? He keeps repeating.
Mr. Dubois. Mr. Dubois. Harry. Mr. Dubois.
Maybe you could use your hands somehow, in a kind of throw-in motion, like you're throwing that Mr. Dubois act right back at him. He's Mr. Dubois.
Don't be dramatic. I can see your condition.
What an odd demonstration of... you got me, Harry.
Okay, enough. We are here to ask you...
Quick, here's your window. It is about time to stop embarrassing yourself. Questions will help you regain some of your lost dignity. Before you, with...
Welcome, Mr. I'd offer you...
He looks extremely comfortable.
You go ahead.
Whatever he has in store, forget about that. What's with this?
Please, Mr. Dubois, let us converse in a civilized manner, as equal. Excellent, Mr. Dubois. I can see... So tell me.
The chair you're sitting on has got...
Oh, by this should take care... It should be sufficient.
Wow, that's 25 real. That's good money. You need it.
Oh, now...
The world is swallowed by a black hole of fear. Only 2...
Are you all... It's not like...
It was loaded. There were 2 bullets in it. You always keep at least 2 barrels. God, you're sweating. Your knee is jerking. You're a... Before you is a walrus of a man seated behind a large desk. He looks up from his work, not the least bit surprised to see you. With great effort, he straightens.
Welcome. I'd offer you.
He looks.
You go ahead.
Whatever he has in. Forget about that. What's with it?
Excellent, Mr. Dubois. So tell.
The chair you.
Oh, by the way, this should take care of that nonsense. It should be
Wow, that's 25. With a grin, he points to the checker game. It's like you're.
Now.
The world is swallowed by a black hole of fear. Only two words escape its gravitational pull. Lost and gun.
Are you? It's not like.
It was loaded. There were 2 bullets in it. You always keep at least 2 barrels loaded. God, you're sweating. Your knee. Before you, with great effort, he straightens himself up in his chair. Yet,
Well, I'd offer you.
he looks.
You go ahead.
Whatever, forget about that. What's with this Dubois stuff?
Please. Excellent, Miss. So tell me, how can.
The chair?
Oh, by the way, I heard you got a rather rude reception from a certain Lawrence Gart. Some people have no manners. It should be sufficient.
Wow, that's 25 real. That's good money. You need it.
Oh, now.
The world is swallowed by a black hole of fear. Only 2.
Are you all right, Harry? You say you got this, but you see, it's not like you left it loaded. You didn't lose a loaded gun.
It was loaded. There were 2 bullets in it. You always keep at least 2. Who does this guy think you are? Ronnie the rookie? You ain't worried about no lost gun, or unpaid bill, or forgotten name. You're the bad cop. You're probably more corrupt than him. The fat man does the same, sinking deeper into his chair than one would think is physically possible. He seems to be enjoying your little display. Good. Now lean in with some corruption.
That we do, Harry. Let them say what they will about you and me. We're both born fighters. Why, thank you.
That's it. Now kick back and add a final flourish for dignity.
You strike me as a...
I think we'd like to ask you a few questions. Don't you think so, Detective?
Of course. My God, so it's true. I didn't want to believe it, but you are a fantastic science fiction amnesiac cop, aren't you? What are the odds of that?
I think the odds of that are very low.
I assure you, there's nothing to be ashamed of, Harry. You're among friends, and the good news is, I have a big fat folder on you, Harry. I'm sure you have a lot of questions.
Don't trust him. For all you know, Dubois might be his name. You need to confirm this.
I'm sure you had some concerns you thought I might be able to address. And you were probably right. I can.
It's just a brown folder. You can't make out what...
Are you trying to tell me you've gotten hold of some of our documents?
Mr. Kitsuragi, would you mind? Me and Harry are talking about his lost identity right now. Ah,
I find that
I'm afraid this is meant for Union eyes only, Mr. Kitsuragi. I'm sure you understand. Please continue. But of course, Harry. Your precinct is the 41st and you live in Jamrock. You're a Jamrock boy. A family? Harry, you're not a family man. Well, yes. I'm sure you're going to make one little boy. Well, Harry, if I were to sum you up in one word, it would be apologetic. Well, you sure come off as very confident in all our interactions, Harry. You're a real man's man. It's Harry. Harry Dubois.
You don't feel like either one of these things. You know what your name is. You have a sophisticated name, like that of a count, or a beautiful man.
Fine. Mr. Kitsuragi doesn't seem even slightly empathetic to your memory loss, Harry.
Everart's large hands are covering the folder, but the look on his face says, I know everything about you.
Oh, Harry.
I'm sure it's not that bad. At worst, he has an old RCM folder, and I feel...
So how about it, Harry? You need assistance, I presume? Ah, this? My friend...
I find that very...
I'm afraid this is meant for Union eyes only, Mr. Kitsuragi. I'm sure you understand. Please continue. Of course, Harry, of course. Let's not linger on... Honestly, I didn't want to bring it up, Harry. I heard you have become Measurehead's race pupil. Of course, Harry. No one's gonna know what you did with race there, Harry. Your race bonanza is safe with...
You can see the map of Revachol in your head. Dozens...
Anyway, I assure you, I am a very well-informed man. Information reaches me before I even get the chance to request it. Oh, that one thing I want to make very... Yes, we're all trying to do what's best for Martinez. Don't feel like you shouldn't work with her, just if she...
He doesn't want to see her. It's as simple as that.
What do you mean, Harry? Nothing. I let him go. He's an old man, Harry. Harry, honestly,
It's hard to say if he really lost his temper, or if this is an...
Yes?
His expression makes it clear. This is childish and irresponsible behavior.
Of course, Harry. I have no Tell her about all of it.
It is rather... This is weird. Not nice weird, but okay.
What? Harry, How could you say that to me? You, Harry.
Thank you.
You too.
None taken. Did we have anything else to do here, Harry?
Let's hear it, Harry. Of course, Harry, of course. Yes, your gun will be found.
The only way to find it seems to be working with him. He might even be holding your gun.
I don't care about my gun. I love it, Harry. Wish I could be like that, but I can't. I have a responsibility to this community. I can't have a loaded gun out in the streets.
The officer is exaggerating. Of course we care about the missing firearm, and we...
The lieutenant is concerned about the lost gun and feels that the fact you haven't prioritized looking for it is unfortunate.
Excellent, Mr. Kitsuragi. That's excellent news. Looks like we have a friendly... Yes, yes. What's that, Harry? You're getting a little pale. Is it the words paranoid schizophrenic and lost gun in one sentence? Don't worry, it's just a lead. Oh, of course. I mean, it's no secret that the lynching is connected to the strike. So much to talk about, but there's a...
Yes, that sounds good.
But I can't think straight with this thing weighing on me. You're police officers, aren't you? I have a crazy idea. You guys are...
I'm not sure I understand. If you're asking us to break down someone's door...
Come now.
Does this jiggling ooze think he's going to use?
Harry,
You want to send...
I repeat, I'm a very... Oh, Harry, I'm a very...
You want to send someone a message that the...
I repeat, I'm a very... Just go there, unlock the door, and leave it open. It's been such a burden on me, Harry. I just want this to be over so I can discuss business with you. Harry, my dear friend, I am what people call a low... Of course, Harry, perhaps this...
Yes, we both understand what you meant.
This may be the only way, he thinks. I won't hold it against you. In fact, we probably should reconsider later.
You might have noticed there's one hanging on a tree behind the hostel.
Oh my.
Mr. Clare, besides, getting the body down would benefit all of us. It's a stain on the...
I can certainly... But of course, all joking aside, Jean-Luc, and you can find Jean-Luc down at the gates, but you already knew that. Anyway, he's going to help you. Wait. You need this to get in and out through the gate. Here, you're one of us now. A real red and white union man. Take care, Harry.
Mister. I knew you'd be back to talk with old Leo here. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. It's like Lady Lor... No trouble at all, mister.
rusting control panel with several knobs. 2 buttons marked Marche and Arrête are faded with use. Marche on, Arrête off. With a loud grind, the crane shifts overhead, moving a massive metal container through the air. With a surprisingly quiet, the harbor sleeps as the strike rages in the distance. The crane can rest again, now that its purpose has moving this container, of course. For this purpose it was built. For this purpose it has acted, and now it will rest.
I can't see how that was worth the wreckers, except for seeing the crane in action.
Before you stands a cargo container.
Is this like your thing with that wall again? You do? Because I don't. There are a million containers here. Why are you fixating on this one? There may very well be, but we are not here to look for that. We are not here to interact with content.
No reply. The knock produces a hollow ring of metal. Doesn't sound like this, and you attempt to turn the handle. To your left, the lieutenant considers your actions with some puzzlement. file cabinet stands steady as ever, and the unlocked drawer slides out. Hundreds, and you already went through the drawer.
Unpromising race pupil returns. So it was. My unpromising race pupil entered the harbor and used my superior to give me...
You're so no...
But while I am gone, someone must stand guard on the bridge. That someone needs to be you. Both of you.
This is the uncomfortable result of not taking it on ourselves. I can live with a compromise.
Listen to your little friend. He is wise in his childlike way. His mysterious babe. See that they stay here the whole time.
The woman's gaze follows Measurehead as he leaves.
So, you guys are like cops or something? Look at him. His craniometric perfection. Are you cops or what? Cool. I like men with guns and power. I'm Katya, by the way.
You hear that? That sound. He's breaking something.
Yeah, Jean-Luc must be really tearing it up over there. I wish I could see it.
Look at you! RCM rent-a-cops! Guarding that bridge like Everott's lapdogs! Is this where it's at now? The RCM is for sale!
And who are you? What is your business here? Why are your clothes 4 sizes too small for you?
A shrill laughter interrupts you, echoing across Martinez. It's Kuno. Then the man turns to look behind him at the behemoth appearing around the corner, approaching him, walking past him.
The corpse has been removed from the tree. Stand down and congratulate yourself. You have sided with Ray's victory today. Farewell, ham sandwich. You are a Union man from now on.
You see rows of toy soldiers guarding the rest.
If you don't mind, please put the flash.
Photonic sensitivity is not generally acknowledged by the medical establishment.
Put the flashlight away, officer. Having it is a privilege.
Evening, officers.
The worn and beaten wooden planks of the bench do not look overly comforting.
We can sit on benches after.
You can revisit the bench if you ever need to pass the time when Lieutenant Kitsuragi is gone.
There are several footprints in the mud, left by work boots. Anywhere from 6 to 12 pairs have walked here. Heavy workers' boots with reinforced toes and hobnails. Isn't this something an industrial worker would wear?
Noted.
Maybe more than 12. No, 8 pairs of boots have shuffled back and forth in the mud. 1. Standard work boot, steel reinforced. 2. Standard work boot. 3. Hobnailed work boot. 4. Standard work boot. Number 45 or 46. You don't know. It's a miracle you can tell the prints apart as it. 5. Another standard work boot. Steel reinforced. 6. An aberration. Light as air. Even pace. Same. Impossible to tell. Could also have been an adolescent. The gate is undeveloped. You're not bad. It's as if the whole world darkens. Everything else has a thin film of unimportance. 7. The glowing outline of a standard work boot. Number 46. But the imprints are twice. 8. And yet another standard work boot. Number 44. There's an
How many? I was pretty off then. I counted 20. I never got the hang of it. Hyperopia. Do you see anything out of the ordinary? A week, maybe? 7 days would feed the...
It is not impossible.
I pulled last week's forecast for coastal Havashol. 7 days below freezing. The day before, the day of his hanging, was the last warm day.
Correct again. Sub-zero temperatures would preserve the tracks in a good state. The commotion here could have taken place a week ago.
A woman or a kid? Okay. How do you know?
He knows it's hard to discern sex from a person's gait.
Understood. Anything else? A woman? Okay.
He knows it's hard to discern.
Understood. Anything else? 200? Could it be the combined weight of two people, one carrying the other who's tied up? Let's say a heavily built worker carrying a similarly built, soon-to-be-dead man.
He might be right. 200 kilograms of living weight is unlikely.
I can't see any prints fitting the armor boots the victim was wearing, can you? Someone had to carry him. Are any of the other prints deep enough? An obese person is becoming less likely. I do. One of them carried him over.
But why?
Yes, they could have used a makeshift stretcher or just march him up to the gallows. Even easier to carry on a stretcher, or between two men. Anyway, it's for future consideration. What else can you see? Interesting. Let's name it the Old Soul. Someone operating a workbench with a pedal? Like a joiner at the harbor. Or maybe a drummer? No, it's not. Forget I said it. We are not looking for a drummer. Perhaps it could be a driver. A driver would wear out their right shoe before the left. The accelerator is on the right. We should keep our eyes open around the traffic jam. See whether anyone strikes out as a potential suspect. Seems prudent, no? Mm-hmm. What do I think? A mob of people brought something heavy to the tree. One of them was carrying the victim. They shuffled around, especially under the tree. Then, after hoisting him up, they stood in a semicircle facing his direction. At first glance, this appears to be a lynching.
Indeed, they all stood in a row here and looked at the tree. Yes, everything fits so well. Carried him over, hoisted him up, watched him hang. This is easy. The lieutenant's eyes narrow. He's thinking to himself.
Either way. What else? A woman or a kid? Understood. Anything else? 200?
He might be right. 200 kilograms of living weight is unlikely.
Maybe it wasn't. It could have been, but if it wasn't... Possibly, yes.
But why?
Yes, they could have used a makeshift stretcher or just march him up to the gallows. You have a point there. Anyway, it's something to consider. What else can you see?
The corpse lies on the ground among the remains of an absolutely demolished pinewood branch. It's gently laid on one side.
Mr. Measurehead has done a good job. Nothing is too broken or compromised. The victim is ready for a field autopsy. Yes. 1. Investigation of the scene. 2. Initial examination of the victim. 3. Field autopsy. 4. Transportation of the body to the morgue. We are on number 3.
The RCM's 4-phase murder scene processing manual.
The fuck are they on about?
Cop's gonna cut his shit up!
No, you and I are detectives. The honorary rank of detective signifies our ability to handle the entire incident chain, from autopsy to cleanup to social work, everything. An honor and a burden attached to your rank once you've proven yourself able, usually after 5 to 8 years of field work. Mine is Lieutenant Detective. You are. Your station would not have assigned you on this case if you weren't.
The lieutenant adjusts his glasses and takes a deep breath.
Come on, officer. You know what a field autopsy is. You've done 100 of them.
What you do know is, at 18.9 kilometers, the dormant shield volcano, Corpus Muindi, is the world's highest summit, and the failure of the 38 single, Et puis descend, to crack the top 20 was the death knell of disco. But what a field autopsy is, you have no idea.
Fine. It's a 3-part form to be filled out on the scene by the A scalpel is not always required. I hope this is one of those cases. Latex gloves are, however. Unfortunately, no. They are better than nothing. Tell you what, I perform the anatomical side of things while you will take notes. In your paperwork, officer, just fill out the field autopsy form. Officer, what haven't you lost? Yes, barely. I can give you my paperwork. There's an autopsy form there. Several, actually, but only if it helps move things along. Right. The autopsy form is near the end.
You find a moment as the lieutenant inspects the dead man's fingernails. Just a few glances. The pages are filled with a bulky freehand that's nearly illegible. It's very hard to draw conclusions. All you can make out is that he is in a hurry to solve the case. The tempo of the handwriting says as much, and that there are a lot of notes in there. Most of them, it's very hard to draw conclusions. All you can make out is that he is in a hurry to... Maybe you're imagining it, but there are some remarks in there, and they're not all negative. You're referred to as the 41st by your station number, and the 41st comes off as a moderately competent detective.
What? I thought we decided to leave it to processing. Let's not turn this into some kind of
Okay, so you can sneak out of your room maybe, after he's gone to sleep. The dead man stares in silence as you crack open the ledger. The bright red paper is covered in boxes and lists, describing the condition of his skin and organs in 3 parts. Above those, an 11-field info form needs filling out first. It begins with,
That's you.
the corpse is indifferent to your scribblings, just lies there.
KK57. Next. NA. Next. NA. Roughly 50.
Dry 40. The damage is so extensive, it's better to err on the young side. He nods.
Mondial.
Fair to olive-skinned, from the Isola of Mwindi. This is as vague as it gets. You might as well say whitish. The pudgy mess of curdled meat looks neither mondial nor anything other.
Fucky fucky!
Male.
Pigs can have sex!
Nor does he look male, with his pregnant belly and indistinguishable face.
We're still going with March 4th. 51. What else? 9. Body identified by is non-applicable. 10.
KK 57 0503 0815.
None. At least not after the initial examination. Interfering with the body's position or wounds post-mortem. They'd have to have incapacitated and carried him over. This man was more than a match for untrained dogwalkers.
Your central nervous system recognizes this gesture. It's the stations of the breath. Ecclesiastic, religious in nature, a holdout from pre-DeLorean burial rites. It takes him 2 seconds to perform. Then, somewhere in Jamrock North, a small wood shed behind Rosencrantz Row, Lieutenant Nick Feuerbach puts his hand to the chest of a small corpse, no larger than a monkey. It's raining outside, light drizzle. There is darkness in the shed. Elsewhere yet, an obese female sits in a wicker chair, her silhouette bull-like against the window. Outside, Grand Coudon, The day is turning dim for Sergeant Mac Dawson. Hand extended, he approaches to make sure she is dead more than anything else. The building is tall, 7 stories, wind-wrapped in solitude. Most of the apartments are unoccupied. This was a suicide. The other, an accident. The small one. And so, all across Jamrock, Coal City, GRIH, 42 deceased persons found today. 42 stations of breath.
We should start the post-mortem.
The corpse cannot feel Kim's hand on his chest. It no longer meaningfully interacts with its surroundings. A thicket of boxes and lists on red copier paper tries to answer why.
Clothes. The deceased wears armored boots and white briefs. The make of the briefs is Babrodine, I think. Let's see.
See, it's happening.
Babrodine, yes. Inexpensive. Size M. Color white.
The disappointment is palpable. The red-haired thing was expecting something more lurid.
The boots are ceramic, vitreous enamel. They are fused to his skin from blood flowing downward post-mortem. Removal of the boots is left for processing.
It would be clever of you to omit the boots altogether, sire. If you are to keep them for yourself, as you ought to, you have deserved them more than anyone else.
Tattoos. The upper torso is covered in a single, continuous tattoo, resembling a map of the night sky. It reaches from the right shoulder to the heart. The ink is blue and white. The assistant has a color photograph of the markings, to be added to the case files as document A1. The photo is taken on the scene. The deceased has a cargo lashing belt, well-nourished, athletically built, measuring 1.8 meters, generally consistent with age 42. Preservation is good. Ambient temperature below freezing. Body hair is light brown. Distribution is consistent with the age. The deceased had male pattern baldness. Hair is combed back, short. Lividity is consistent with hanging. The head is congested. Contusions are present on the head, chest, and thighs, consistent with stones thrown post-mortem. Low velocity.
Fucking low velocity? You think Kuno doesn't know what you're talking about? Velocity was fucking max. Talking shit about Kuno's velocity.
In addition, there are bite marks on the face, scalp, and chest, consistent with predation. Ligature mark. The steel wiring. There's too much of it. We need to remove the belt so we can get to the ligature mark.
You got just the right tool for that. The chain cutters.
Always good to think ahead. Now, we need to cut the belt to see the ligature mark below. Carefully.
See? My pig is gonna fuck his head off.
No, he ain't. Your pig's a boring fuck.
The belt is equally tight around the whole circumference of his neck, swelling over the edges like white bread rising from the east. After some deliberation, you sink the cutters into the knot tying the belt together. You squeeze the rubber handles together, sweat forming on your brow. Snap! The knot is slashed. Another cut and the belt falls apart like a flower bouquet, revealing the dead man's neck and the dark red ligature mark around it.
The rope rises to a point, leaving a gap in the ligature mark. The suspension point is in the back of the neck.
As it ought to. This is where its grip on the curdled meat is gentlest, pulling up.
Hemorrhaging is observed on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. The mark is well pronounced, consistent with a drop from 1 or 1.5 meters. Chest is intact, normal contour, abdomen is protuberant, pelvis intact, genitalia...
No! Let's get out and see!
I fucking knew it!
Genitalia is male and unremarkable. No evidence of injury.
The dead man's penis is average-sized, congested from the downward collection of blood. The testicles are uneven in length, hanging underneath. The genitalia is greenish. Marbling is present around the crotch.
Back is symmetrical and intact. Upper and lower extremities are intact, but asymmetrical. There are combat injuries on the right hand, thigh, and hip. In addition, I see smaller, residual scars, too numerous to count, covering about 30% of his skin.
From wounds sustained over 2, maybe more decades, dispersal and accumulation indicates long and active combat duty.
We have a real museum here. Of battles, wars. Last item. Hands.
The hand is surprisingly heavy to lift, filled with decay liquids. Feels as though it could explode if squeezed harder. You're suddenly repulsed. So much so...
Hands are clean. No sign of injury from struggling. Ooh. That's all for the external. Well done. What next? I'm afraid we can't continue before we've gone through both the external and central nervous system. I have nothing. Do you have anything on this man's central nervous system?
Of course, there is a moral to be drawn from it. A moral to this story.
What would that be?
The dead man looks, too, with barely contained excitement to hear the moral of his story.
I think that may well be the moral of every story, officer. Good. Musculoskeletal. Purge fluid is coming from the mouth. Not injury-related. Eyes and tongue protuberant. Hyoid bone. Let's see.
With his eyes almost closed, the lieutenant puts his hand on the dead man's throat and begins to massage it, gently. A rotting smell erupts from the mouth. Purge fluid runs down his lips, black and viscous. You hear cracks as the lieutenant moves his sharp fingers inside the flesh, like the creaking of an old house at night.
Yeah, jack that fucker off!
The hyoid bone is fractured. The rest of the musculoskeletal system is intact. Unremarkable. Respiratory system. Oral cavity shows no lesions. The victim has received dental implants, possibly after a combat wound.
No scream, no sigh of relief rises from the darkness inside. It's humid there, sickly sweet air, unlike anything living. You feel like throwing up. straight in that mouth. It's hard. You taste stomach acid in the back of your throat. A contraction. Your throat pumps inside. You see dark. Mute silence as always.
Hemorrhaging present in mucus. Hepatobiliary, Na. Are you a hepatobiliary expert? Neither am I. Same for toxicology and serology, and unless you have untapped reservoirs of knowledge there? Like a toxicology screening? At this stage, I doubt processing will find anything, even if he was brimming with cocaine. But still, you should add a...
Brimming with cocaine.
Cardiovascular. The body exhibits heavy lividity. Blood has gathered in the hands, feet, and neck. Gastrointestinal.
This will do.
Digested semi-solid food in stomach. Voila. What's next on the list? Let's see. We have bite marks, contusions on the head and chest, and a ligature mark encircling the neck. You'll need 3 feels. Leave a 4th one too. Head, chest, and scalp bite mark injuries. Predation by birds has caused damage to the body. Odontologist does not need to be consulted. And your opinion, officer? Agreed. Next injury? So, the scalp bleeds from a post-mortem head injury, a stone. The injury does not have the rim of an early inflammatory response. The perpetrator on the scene has confessed to causing it post-mortem.
At maximum velocity, fucko!
Has confessed to causing it at maximum velocity.
Coagulated blood sticks to his scalp and chest, where the countless stones have hit the dead man. Beneath, the description of injury. 2 boxes.
Right. Next. A dark red abraded ligature mark encircling the neck, with a gap on the nape measuring, let's say, 7 centimeters. The hyoid bone is fractured, the cervical column intact. I see hemorrhaging on the skin, above and below the ligature mark. Depth of the mark, 1 centimeter. No signs of clawing on the neck.
Below the note, 2 customary boxes wait to be ticked. The man's head jerks to the side. The ring around his neck is visible.
That's it. We have established cause of death. It's not much, and it leaves much to be questioned. But it's a start. Let's wrap this up. I pronounce this field autopsy over. Well, we established probable cause of death. Some would say that's the goal of an autopsy. We also requested a toxicological screening. That was thorough. The results should arrive in a couple of weeks, if we are lucky. I would not hold my breath. We were thorough with the list of injuries, too. We described them all in detail. What is there to say? Given the circumstances, it was a professional field autopsy.
Oh yeah, well done, Master Detective. Maybe a drink is in order?
Now, you see, that worries me. You will die if you drink. You know that, don't you? You are proving a useful detective. The organization would miss you.
Please get yourself together. The lieutenant from Precinct 57 thinks.
Now? Now we put him in a body bag and I drive him to Forborg for processing.
The lieutenant looks at the dead man one more time. You tilt your head, also looking at the corpse. I'm sure we didn't get everything. There's always something.
Into the wild pale yonder, in the past, way out in the west. I'm a joke. Look at me. A killer, a motherfucker, and a killer.
Takes one to know one.
Go ahead, Coppo. What do you mean? It's the power of your imagination. Go ahead. Ask me more questions. You fucking love questions. Because you're a copperoonie. Look at all of them go. Do you want more questions? Here you go, you loony. Fuck no. You're no Rooney. No, you don't. Between you and me, your name is probably... That's right. Stupid, boring Harry. Harry, the motherfucker. Because you have. Do I remind you of someone?
A child born with Muller's disease, harlequinism, grown up miraculously.
No, not quite. Be fair now. You sure I got out of that one, Coppellini? Do I remind you?
A child born with Muller's disease, harlequinism, grown up.
There you go. Look at that bright kid. We're birds of a feather, you and I. Soon you will be just like me. Just keep drinking and having a good time. It's a matter of weeks.
Feeling nausea, vomiting, tenderness or pain around the liver area, tiny red lines on the skin above waist level, more like days, Coppo. The clock is ticking. Your liver tells you so.
Come back later, Corpo. Amuse yourself with my frank manners and my memento mori features. If possible, also, see me in your dreams.
You run your hands over the victim's cold body, his limbs, his torso with its swollen organs. Maybe you should be more thorough. The genitals in his breeches continue to be unnoteworthy.
Can't get enough of that dick.
Do you think we missed something?
You can't shake the feeling that there are more secrets concealed in the flesh before you.
Okay, well, we are in livor mortis here. He is disintegrating. We need to refrigerate the body if we want to conduct another examination. It would have to be industrial in size. Let's start by asking Gart at the Whirling in Rags.
Fuck are you looking at, Beano man? You want a piece of the Kuno? Wanna get fucked?
Only if all else fails.
Or remember the buttons on that intercom over there, on the side of the building next to the Whirling? One was for Revachol Ice City.
This is one task we cannot sideline. With every hour, whatever.
An inconspicuous pile of the roofing material, Eternite. Because it's nice and orderly, it reveals no secrets at this time. An old call box with a matrix of push buttons lists all the companies in the East Delta. Silence. No one answers the doorbell. Silence. No, an off-key.
Kuno, please stop calling here. Grown-ups don't have time for your stupid game. Oh, I'm sorry, officer. I thought you were... But the doorbell is broken, and the bookstore shouldn't even be on the list.
A single beep indicates that the line has gone dead. The man is deep. The lieutenant adjusts his glasses and takes a deep breath.
If you think so, officer, I'm not going to object. I need a little help for carrying him to the holding pen of my kinema. I'll take it from there.
There go those beautiful enamel boots. May they rest in processing.
It's too late to take him into processing today. I'll take him first thing tomorrow.
Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio microphone, a pull-out toolbox, and the soft glow of the fuel preheating.
Yes?